Hey Barbell Club athletes, Coach Jules here. We're entering a new training phase, so I thought I'd make a video for you guys, give you a quick discussion on what to expect and how the next few weeks will look like. Now, before we hop on straight into what that is, I always like to do a quick reflection of where we were or where we came from, right? So let's take a quick reflection of what we did in the past with regards to our training. So the previous weeks or months, the training phase did really focus on a couple of aspects. So we did see a snatch progression there, so a progressive loading, decreasing volume type of mini cycle for the snatch. We also saw a lot of snatch and clean accessory work geared towards developing back strength, proper positions throughout the pull, and of course making sure that the mechanics are all set and with regards to like how to dip and drive and jerk. So we saw a lot of tempo drills, slowed down form of pulls, pause jerks, and all that, which are all very good. We did also see a lot of clean and jerk complexes, just again to dabble into the more high intensity aspect of barbell training, and it does carry over well into metcons too. As coaches, we really pondered on this and what the athlete really needs, or what we've seen or what we have observed based on reviewing a lot of your videos. So we recognize that our athletes, or you guys, are very strong. You can squat heavy, deadlift heavy, or press heavy, generally, or relatively speaking. But in order to fully express that strength, what we really need to develop is our technique, right? But again, technique is a catch-all term, and technique is super wide, right? But let's talk about what type of technique we really need to focus on. So in order to be able to express our strength as athletes, we need to develop proper pull mechanics with regards to the snatching, clean. You want to think about keeping the bar close, maintaining good positions throughout the first, second, and third pull. So if you don't know what that is, we're going to talk about it further in this training phase. And of course, lastly would be using the turnover, or pulling yourself underneath the bar and getting into the proper receiving position. In order to bridge that gap, we've created this new training phase. So the program overview and structure is going to be more of like a balanced approach. Balanced approach meaning that we're not purely just thinking about hitting strength really hard. We're not just purely thinking about doing technique drills forever. So we thought about really giving you the best value for the time and touching aspects needed in order to excel, which is again going to be technique development, barbell cycling skill, which is going to transfer well to the metcons, and of course strength in the Olympic lifts and absolute strength. So these are the three aspects that we find that are crucial in developing your capabilities as an athlete. So the structure of the week will be determined by these three aspects. So on Monday is going to be the strength phase or strength day. Wednesday will be the barbell cycling day, and then third would be like technique development. So let's run them down one by one. So when we talk about technique development, coming back to the needs of the athlete, we're going to work on really refining the pull and piecing it or dissecting the pull into those first, second, and third pulls. So we're going to do a lot of pull drills there. They're going to be a bit different in a sense that some things that we haven't done before or some things that we have, we'll just try to refine it a bit more and get more exposure there. Secondly, in order to really develop technique, we like to slow things down a bit. So we'll do a lot of tempo lifts at lighter loads just to reinforce good positions, because usually once we do things a bit faster, that's when technique starts to degrade, and then that's where the faults happen. So we'll slow things down, try to pinpoint our faults there, and kind of refine that aspect. And you'll also see a lot of turnover, transition work drills, because we find sometimes the athlete has trouble pulling him or herself underneath the bar to receive. Sometimes they think about just dropping straight down to catch that bar. But again, it's all about timing and pulling yourself under and receiving it in the proper position. So not just dropping straight down. That will be more or less the theme for the technique development segment. Now for the barbell cycling skill. So in our sport of fitness, a lot of metcons call for this. And just because you have the capacity as an athlete to lift heavy 1 rep max, 2 rep max, 3 rep max, doesn't mean you're able to excel in barbell cycling metcons, right? Where you need to do 10, 20 reps, unbroken, high heart rates. This is a totally different skill, because one is optimizing for lifting for load, which is 1 rep, 2 rep, 3 reps, whereas one is going to be optimizing for higher rep ranges at higher heart rates. So there's a very fine line there in how the techniques of both are, which are very different. So we're going to talk about developing that skill, acquiring it, and of course applying it as well in certain conditioning segments, what we call barbell conditioning segments for you guys. Lastly, of course, we have strength. Let's not neglect strength. One of the key aspects of any form of athlete. So what we're gonna do is gonna be a linear progression. We like to think about structure in terms of progression. So we like to slowly build you guys up with progressive loading and decreasing volume, as opposed to just kind of like throwing random heavy reps every week. We like to take a more strategic, a more safe, a more effective approach just to get the best bang for your buck in terms of program. We do get a lot of athletes who follow another strength and conditioning program. So for example, we have athletes who do Homecon Plus and the Barbell Club. So how do we seamlessly tie things together so that we don't really overtrain or overexert ourselves? So first would be, of course, you take a look at your volume. If you feel like the volume is still working well for you combining both, then that's good. But then if you feel like there's a bit too much volume, that's when we can kind of adjust and maybe skip some certain segments if you need to. Now, if you do need to kind of prioritize on what to work on first, the first thing you have to do as an athlete is to recognize your weakness and limitations as an athlete. So we did talk about those three aspects: technique, barbell cycling, absolute strength. Recognize what you need to work on first. So prioritize the aspects that you need to work on first, but if you're already proficient in barbell cycling, maybe you can skip that and just focus on the other elements of your strength and conditioning program. Hope that makes sense. Now, for the execution of each segment, I highly recommend that we do these strength and technique drills before any conditioning, just because once we're in a fatigue state, our sense of detecting errors in the movement is impaired. So it's best that we start off relatively fresh so that we can really recognize our faults and our tweaks in the certain movement that we're doing. Lastly, of course, the biggest value that we can provide for you as coaches is coaching feedback. So I highly encourage you guys to take lifting videos. We'll be very responsive in sending you back some really good constructive feedback and what you can do to improve your lifts. So we really want to help you guys and develop your technique in the Olympic lifts or in whatever form of barbell fitness or barbell capabilities that you need work in. So highly encourage you to utilize this, take your videos, send it over to us, and we'd be super happy to send it back to you with some great feedback. And it's fun also, okay? So that's it for me, guys. Hope you enjoy this next training phase.